Doom, Prince of Persia, Donkey Kong Country. Question: what do these things have in common? Everybody knows the answer is digitization. What is digitization though, besides being hard to say? Now if you've seen the thumbnail then you probably have a good idea, but it's much more than that. Digitization is the whole concept of taking something from the real world and translating it into the digital world, hence digitization. I guess the most obvious example here would be taking pictures with your phone. You take something real and turn it digital. So now you might be thinking, in the same way, when we print the pictures we took onto paper, is that called paperization? Wait, why'd you kill him? He was right. Kind of. The word digitization comes from turning something digital. Digitization also used for the process where you turn a video or music tape into a digital file. The most common use case here is to take a picture of a surface and then use that to create a texture for a game or 3D model. But it gets better. We can look at what I did for my game TV Cube. Hey look, it conveniently plays Link. You should probably click that. In TV Cube, I used pictures of myself to create the character in the game. Cause it'd be kinda funny and interesting, and it was. It can be seen in games like Doom 1 and 2. You notice how things look in those games? Most of the world is basic but still 3D, except the enemies and some decorations. Now that's why digitization really shines, I think. Traditionally, if you wanted 3D entities in your game, you'd be called crazy and probably make a game that required one of these to run. This was like a super powerful computer used for 3D modeling at the time. Also, your game would be a commercial flop because people didn't have these at their homes. But you don't have to accept this fate. In fact, what most companies did was to create a 3D model, render it into an image and use that in their games. Kind of like Donkey Kong Country. It's kinda weird, sure, but it's definitely stylized, I think. Doom on the other hand was made by not exactly a huge studio like Rare, the developers of the aforementioned game Donkey Kong Country. Its software wanted to make these models a bit faster as making 3D models digitally took too much time for them. So a bunch of clay models were sculpted by Adrian Carmack, which were then turned into game sprites along with Kevin Cloud. The idea was simple. They sculpted the models and then took snapshots of each model from 8 directions, using the video camera for some reason. I guess that's not too important, because the next step is rescaling the images into the appropriate size. They were then colored according to their design. Apparently they were also animated in the stage, meaning they modified the sprites after being scanned from real life. Depending on the situation though, it might be better to move the model in real life so that the animation is both easier to make and more accurate to real life. Kind of like how they do in stop motion. Okay, now you wanna see something really cool? So the guns in Doom, they were also built from real life. I love this fact because it's not just guns, they use different toy weapons to make the ones in the game. Easily the most interesting are the plasma gun and the BFG. That's because they were made by modifying or combining multiple toys to make something that's SFC, which stands for so freaking cool, dude. Wait, there was no D in the acronym. The D is silent. Now if you want to see more cool stuff like this about Doom, check out Decino or Decino, I don't know. He has some great videos though, and the D is not silent. Okay, enough of other people, let's go back to me. I made this game called TV Cube in which the character was me. Hello. I'll take you through a modern approach for this kind of digitization. So you begin with an image of your model, preferably with no personal information, especially if it's going to be used in a YouTube video. There are most likely better ways to do this using Photoshop or something, but I'm gonna show you what I did using Paint.net with some easy methods. This should work in any photo editing program though. First I picked the background color kinda like magenta because it makes it look more professional and also easy to see. I just colored in roughly around the sprite. This is the part that's gonna be deleted. It's much easier if you just take the pictures with a green screen. After painting the bulk of the background, you can go in and slowly fill the edges. Doesn't have to be perfect, but just do it carefully. This shouldn't take too long. Now here's the ugly part. You select the magic wand and delete the background color. This is gonna leave an ugly edge. But here's a lesson in trickery and this is gonna go down in history. The thing is, when you downscale an image, there is this process called interpolation. It is how the pixels will be compressed. So these 4 pixels will turn into this 1 pixel and so on. This means that when we scale it down, the ugly edge is going to be eliminated by the interpolation. So if you're doing something like this, leaving the edge for the scaling is a good trick because it might save you a lot of time. There may be some bits sticking out, especially if the pixels are quite big. This is quite tricky. You need to take the eraser tool and very slowly, whoop. Now, onto the cooler, older brother of digitization, rotoscoping. It's motion tracking, it's just motion tracking with style. No, seriously, it's amazing. One of the most famous and obvious examples in video games is Prince of Persia. I mean, look at how beautifully weird this guy is. You don't just get animations like that. So the trick is, of course, rotoscoping. You may have also seen some of these weird animations on YouTube, and they were made using, yep, rotoscoping. This is basically like tracing an image. Instead of an image, you use a video and trace it frame by frame. The flow of the video determines the flow of your animation, which makes it more natural. Within reason. This is a weird technique, certainly, but there's definitely a charm about it. It's like primitive digital animation mixed with AI or something, especially with the way it moves. Now, I don't know if there are many games that use it as blatantly as Prince of Persia, but it'd be really cool to see some newer games with this style. Anyhow, I'm glad I tried it out for my game. It was really fun and oddly satisfying. When I took those pictures, I wasn't sure how they were gonna look in the game. They all fit surprisingly well. Now, if you wanna get creative, definitely try utilizing this, because you'll be using the world around you to make it, and it's gonna thank you for it. No, not really, it's just gonna be awkward until it's finished, but it's definitely worth it though, because you're gonna have a lot of fun. Okay, so after writing that script, I found out about a game called The Rogue Prince of Persia, which is really cool because it's basically what I mentioned. It's like a modern take on the Prince of Persia game with similar animation techniques. So definitely check that out.